A life where external chaos no longer dictates your inner peace. A life where the noise of the world fades into the background as you move with purpose and clarity, untethered by the anxieties and pressures that plague so many. This is not some distant, unattainable ideal, but a state of being that lies within your reach. It is a state of being that can be cultivated through the philosophies of Taoism, Stoicism, and Minimalism, three ancient yet profoundly relevant schools of thought that, when combined, offer a powerful guide to becoming truly unstoppable. The art of letting go, as taught in Taoism, is the first step toward achieving this unshakable mindset. Taoism invites us to release our obsessive need for control, to surrender our struggles against the natural flow of life, and to find peace in simply being. It teaches us that there is immense power in allowing things to unfold as they are meant to, rather than forcing outcomes according to our desires. When we let go of our attachments to specific results, we open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. In this state of surrender, we find not weakness, but an unbreakable strength rooted in flexibility and acceptance. Yet, the journey does not stop at letting go. Stoicism, with its emphasis on rational thought and self-discipline, provides the mental framework to fortify our minds against the inevitable challenges of life. The Stoics believed that the quality of our lives depends not on the events that happen to us, but on how we perceive and respond to those events. By asking ourselves profound questions, questions that challenge our assumptions and provoke deep reflection, we can cultivate a mindset that remains steady and resilient no matter what storms may come. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what is within our control and to remain indifferent to what is not. This detachment from external outcomes not only reduces our suffering, but also empowers us to act with greater clarity and purpose. And then there is minimalism, a philosophy that strips away the unnecessary, revealing the essence of what truly matters. In a world that constantly pushes us to acquire more possessions, more achievements, more validation, minimalism encourages us to do the opposite. It urges us to simplify our lives, to shed the excess, and to find contentment in less. By embracing minimalism, we reclaim our time, our space, and our mental energy from the clutter that distracts us from our true desires and values. This deliberate focus on the essential frees us from the burden of materialism and consumerism, allowing us to live more intentionally and meaningfully. These philosophies together form a powerful triad that can transform your life. Taoism teaches you to let go. Stoicism teaches you to endure. And minimalism teaches you to simplify. Each philosophy complements the others, creating a holistic approach to living that is both liberating and empowering. This is your guide to an unshakable life, one that is deeply rooted in inner peace, purpose, and clarity.
Taoism. What if the secret to a happier, more peaceful life was simply letting go? Imagine living without the constant stress of trying to control every aspect of your life. Picture the freedom of releasing old grudges, unrealistic expectations, and the never-ending pursuit of perfection. Today, we are diving into an ancient philosophy that teaches just that, the power of letting go. Let me start with a story. There once was a farmer in a small village. One day, his horse ran away. The neighbors came to offer their sympathy, saying, "Such bad luck." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "Such good luck." Again, the farmer replied, "Maybe." The following day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. The neighbors offered their condolences for the bad luck, but the farmer only said, "Maybe." The day after, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army. Seeing the son's broken leg, they passed him by. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on his good luck, and once again, he replied, "Maybe." This story captures the essence of letting go, of not clinging to events or outcomes, and of accepting the natural flow of life. We will now explore the wisdom of Taoism, an ancient Chinese philosophy that emphasizes harmony with the natural world and the art of letting go. By the end of this journey, you will have a deeper understanding of how to incorporate these principles into your daily life, leading to greater personal growth, inner peace, and freedom.
What is Taoism? Taoism, also spelled Taoism, is a philosophical and spiritual tradition that originated in China over 2,000 years ago. Its foundational text, the Tao Te Ching, is attributed to Lao Tzu, a semi-mythical figure believed to have lived during the 6th century BCE. Taoism teaches that the Tao, or the Way, is the fundamental principle that underlies and unifies the universe. The Tao is indescribable and beyond human comprehension, yet it is the source of all existence. Central to Taoist philosophy are three core principles: the Tao, Wu Wei, and Yin Yang. The Tao is the ultimate reality, the source and the guiding principle that governs the universe. It is the life force that flows through all things, and living in harmony with the Tao means aligning oneself with this natural flow. Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action, is the practice of taking action in perfect harmony with the flow of life. It does not mean inaction or passivity, but rather acting in a way that does not resist or force, allowing things to unfold naturally. The principle of yin and yang represents the interdependence of opposites. Yin and yang are complementary forces that create balance and harmony in the universe. Understanding and embracing this balance is key to living a life of peace and wholeness. The Tao Te Ching, a collection of 81 short chapters, is the most important text in Taoism. It offers profound wisdom on living with simplicity, humility, and compassion. Its teachings guide us to live in harmony with the Tao and to embrace the natural flow of existence.
Letting go. In Taoism, letting go is not merely a practice, it is a way of life. It is about aligning ourselves with the natural current of the universe and discovering peace and balance in every moment. This philosophy is rooted in several key concepts, including Wu Wei, simplicity, patience, and non-attachment. Each of these principles provides valuable insights into how we can live more harmoniously by releasing our constant urge to control everything around us. Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. Wu Wei, often described as effortless action, lies at the heart of Taoist wisdom. It does not mean doing nothing, nor does it suggest passivity. Instead, it teaches us to act in harmony with the Tao, the underlying nature of the universe. Imagine a river flowing smoothly around rocks and obstacles. The water does not struggle, resist, or force its way through. It simply flows around whatever stands in its path. This is the essence of Wu Wei, moving with the current, taking the path of least resistance, and allowing things to unfold naturally. In daily life, Wu Wei can be practiced by not forcing outcomes. For instance, if you are working on a project and run into an obstacle, instead of panicking or forcing a solution, you step back, relax, and give space for a natural solution to arise. Often when we release our grip and stop trying to control every detail, things fall into place more smoothly and effectively. Wu Wei teaches us to trust the process of life and to have faith that things will unfold as they are meant to, without unnecessary strain or excessive force. Simplicity and patience, the beauty of a simple life. Simplicity and patience are two virtues highly valued in Taoist philosophy. Taoism teaches that life should remain simple and free from unnecessary complications. This simplicity is not only about having fewer possessions, but also about nurturing fewer desires and ambitions. When we simplify our lives, we release ourselves from the endless pursuit of more money, more recognition, more possessions.
Letting go of this constant chase allows us to focus on what truly matters and to find contentment in the present moment. Patience goes hand in hand with simplicity. In a world that constantly demands speed and urgency, patience becomes a rare and precious quality. Taoism reminds us that good things take time, and that rushing through life in the race to achieve goals only steals our peace. Instead, we should cultivate patience and trust that everything will unfold at the right time. By learning patience, we begin to enjoy the journey rather than fixating solely on the destination. This helps us live more fully, appreciating each moment as it arrives. A life lived with simplicity and patience greatly reduces stress and anxiety. When we no longer feel the need to have everything immediately, we can relax into the process of life. We become more present, more mindful, and more connected to the world around us. In this way, simplicity and patience bring us peace and contentment in the here and now instead of pushing us to constantly strive for something in the future. Non-attachment, freedom from possessions and rigid ideas. Non-attachment is another essential aspect of Taoist philosophy. It calls us to release our attachments not only to material possessions, but also to rigid ideas and even our own egos. In Taoism, attachment is seen as a root cause of suffering because it creates dependency and fear of loss. By learning to detach ourselves, we open the door to true freedom and lasting peace. Material possessions often trick us into believing they provide security and identity. We may think that owning the latest technology, wearing the best clothes, or living in the biggest house will make us happy. Yet these things are impermanent, always changing, and can never offer lasting satisfaction. Taoism teaches us instead to find joy and fulfillment within ourselves, rather than depending on external objects. This does not mean that we must reject or avoid nice things. Instead, it means we should not cling to them or allow them to define our happiness. Non-attachment also applies to our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. Many times we hold tightly to certain ways of thinking because they make us feel secure and in control. But rigidly clinging to fixed ideas can block our growth and prevent us from seeing new possibilities. Taoism encourages openness and flexibility, letting go of fixed beliefs, being willing to change, and welcoming new perspectives. Through this openness, we gain the ability to learn, adapt, and view the world in a fresh light. Finally, non-attachment includes letting go of the ego, the sense of self that separates us from others and from the world. The ego thrives on fear and desire, constantly chasing validation and control. By loosening the grip of the ego, we can connect more deeply with the Tao and experience a profound oneness with all of life. This does not mean we lose our individuality. Rather, it means transcending the ego's limitations and embracing our truest nature. Benefits of letting go. Mental peace is one of the most significant benefits of letting go. In our fast-paced world, stress and anxiety have become common experiences. We constantly feel pressured to meet deadlines, achieve goals, and live up to expectations. This endless striving often leaves us overwhelmed and exhausted. However, by adopting the Taoist practice of letting go, we can ease these feelings of stress and anxiety. When we stop trying to control every detail of our lives and simply accept things as they are, we create space for calmness and clarity. Letting go is about trusting that life will unfold as it is meant to, without our constant interference. This trust in the natural flow of life helps relieve the pressure we put on ourselves, allowing us to relax and feel a deeper sense of well-being. Instead of being caught in cycles of worry and tension, we begin to embrace ease and serenity. Letting go also frees us from negative thought patterns that fuel stress and anxiety. When we cling to grudges, regrets, or fears, we are repeatedly reliving old hurts and anticipating future problems, trapping ourselves in a state of mental turmoil. By releasing these negative emotions, we learn to live more fully in the present moment. Mindfulness practices, which align closely with Taoist principles, teach us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing them to pass without attachment. This change in perspective reduces mental clutter, quiets the noise of worry, and opens the door to genuine inner peace.
Improved relationships. Another powerful benefit of letting go is the positive impact it has on our relationships. While relationships can bring joy and fulfillment, they can also become a source of tension and conflict. Many of these difficulties stem from our expectations, our judgments, and our desire to control others. By learning to release these tendencies, we open the door to healthier, more harmonious connections. Letting go of expectations means accepting people as they are without trying to mold or change them. It's about recognizing that every person has their own path, their own rhythm, and their own way of being. When we no longer demand that others live up to our ideals, we create space for genuine connection and deeper understanding. This shift naturally makes us more empathetic and compassionate, strengthening the bonds we share. Releasing judgment also allows us to see others with greater clarity. Judgments act like walls, separating us and creating misunderstandings or conflict. When we approach others without judgment, with an open mind and an open heart, trust and respect can flourish, two essential foundations of any strong relationship. Non-attachment is equally important. When we cling to specific outcomes or fixed ideas of how a relationship should unfold, we place unnecessary pressure on both ourselves and those we love. By letting go of these attachments, we allow relationships to evolve freely and authentically. This freedom helps us enjoy the present moment with others, appreciating the time we share without clinging to it or fearing its loss. In this way, letting go enhances the quality of our relationships, allowing them to grow more naturally, more joyfully, and more truthfully. Increased creativity. Letting go and practicing non-attachment can also lead to increased creativity and innovation. Creativity flourishes in an environment of openness and freedom. When we cling to rigid ideas or fixed outcomes, we limit our ability to think creatively and to explore new possibilities. By releasing these attachments, we open ourselves to an endless world of creative potential. Non-attachment allows us to approach challenges with a fresh perspective. Instead of being confined by preconceived notions, we're free to think outside the box and discover innovative solutions. This openness to new ideas is a key driver of creativity. When we are not afraid to let go of old ways of thinking, we can experiment, take risks, and explore uncharted territory. Another important aspect is letting go of the need for perfection. The fear of making mistakes or not being good enough often stifles our creative flow. By embracing the Taoist principle of letting go, we can free ourselves from these fears and allow our creativity to come through authentically. Creativity is not about perfection. It is about expressing our unique vision and perspective. When we release the pressure to be flawless, we can enjoy the creative process and produce work that is more genuine and impactful.
Personal freedom. Finally, one of the most profound benefits of letting go is the sense of personal freedom it brings. Letting go liberates us from the burdens and constraints that hold us back. It frees us from the need to control everything, from the fear of failure, and from the attachments that limit our potential. This freedom allows us to live more authentically and fully. When we let go of our need to control every detail of life, we open ourselves up to new experiences and opportunities. We become more adaptable and resilient, able to navigate life's ups and downs with ease. Instead of fearing change, we can embrace it with curiosity and wonder. Letting go of attachments also frees us from the endless pursuit of external validation and approval. Instead of chasing happiness outside ourselves, we discover fulfillment within. This inner sense of peace is far more lasting than anything external because it aligns with our true values and desires rather than society's expectations. Personal freedom also means having the courage to follow our own path even if it diverges from what is conventional or expected. Letting go empowers us to trust our intuition and make choices that are true to ourselves. This authenticity leads to a more meaningful life because we are no longer confined by the limitations and judgments of others. The benefits of letting go are vast and transformative. By embracing the principles of Taoism, we can experience greater mental peace, improve our relationships, unlock creativity, and achieve personal freedom. Letting go is not about passivity or giving up, but about trusting the natural flow of life and allowing things to unfold as they are meant to. It is about releasing the burdens that weigh us down and opening ourselves up to the limitless possibilities that life has to offer. True happiness and fulfillment come not from clinging, but from flowing with the ever-changing currents of existence.
Practice letting go. Mindfulness and meditation are powerful practices that help us develop the ability to let go. Mindfulness means paying attention to the present moment without judgment, being fully aware of what is happening now instead of being lost in thoughts of the past or worries about the future. By practicing mindfulness, we cultivate a deeper awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. This awareness helps us recognize when we are holding on unnecessarily. A simple practice is mindful breathing. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath as it moves in and out. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the feeling of air entering and leaving your nostrils. Whenever your mind drifts, gently return your attention to the breath. This simple exercise anchors you in the present moment and can be practiced anywhere at any time. Meditation is another effective tool. By sitting quietly and focusing on your breath, a mantra, or a visualization, you train your mind to release distractions. A common method is the body scan, where you move your attention slowly across different parts of the body, noticing sensations without judgment. This helps you identify areas where you may be holding tension and gently release it. Regular meditation not only calms the mind and reduces stress, it also strengthens your ability to let go of negative thoughts and emotions. Over time, it deepens your sense of peace and clarity, making it easier to flow with life. Acceptance. Acceptance is a core principle of letting go. It means acknowledging and embracing reality as it is, without trying to resist or force it to be different. This does not mean passivity or giving up. It is about recognizing that certain things are beyond our control and choosing to focus our energy on what we can actually influence. One powerful way to practice acceptance is through self-compassion. Many of us are our own harshest critics, clinging to unrealistic expectations and self-judgment. By cultivating self-compassion, we learn to be gentler with ourselves, understanding that flaws and mistakes are simply part of the human experience. When you make a mistake, rather than berating yourself, remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. Offer yourself the same kindness and understanding that you would naturally extend to a close friend. Acceptance also involves letting go of the constant need for approval from others. Often, we tie our sense of worth to validation from those around us, which leads to endless striving and dissatisfaction. By learning to accept ourselves as we are, we free ourselves from that cycle. It means recognizing our intrinsic value and knowing that we're enough just as we are. Another dimension of acceptance is embracing change and uncertainty. Life is in constant motion, and resisting that natural flow only creates stress and frustration. By accepting that change is inevitable and that we cannot control or predict everything, we develop a more open and flexible mindset. This openness allows us to adapt gracefully to new circumstances and to find peace even in times of uncertainty.
Decluttering. Decluttering is a practical and effective way to practice letting go.
It involves removing unnecessary items from your physical space and simplifying your surroundings. This process has profound benefits, creating both physical order and mental calm. Begin by assessing your living space and identifying objects that no longer serve a purpose or bring joy. This could be clothes you no longer wear, books you've already read, or gadgets you no longer use. As you sort through your belongings, ask yourself if each item truly adds value to your life. If it does not, consider donating, recycling, or discarding it. Decluttering doesn't need to be done all at once. It can be a gradual process, handled one area at a time, so that it feels manageable rather than overwhelming. The act of clearing away what you don't need can create a powerful sense of clarity and control. A cluttered environment often generates feelings of chaos and stress, while a tidy, organized space promotes calmness and focus. Beyond the physical, decluttering also extends to the mind. Just as excess objects can weigh us down, mental clutter, such as grudges, regrets, and negative thought patterns, can drain our energy. Letting go of these mental burdens makes room for more positive and productive thoughts. Journaling is one helpful tool for this process. By writing down your thoughts and feelings, you give them form and then release what no longer serves you. This simple practice provides a sense of relief and helps restore perspective. Letting go of control. Letting go of control is one of the most challenging aspects of letting go, yet it is also one of the most liberating. Our desire to control outcomes, situations, and even other people often stems from fear and insecurity. We convince ourselves that if we control everything, we can avoid uncertainty and guarantee our happiness. But in reality, this need for control creates enormous stress and frustration because life itself is unpredictable and uncontrollable. Learning to release that grip allows us to live more freely and harmoniously. One effective way to let go of control is through mindfulness and self-awareness. By paying closer attention to our thoughts and behaviors, we can begin to notice when we're trying to control things unnecessarily. For instance, you might catch yourself micromanaging a project or endlessly worrying about the future. Acknowledge these tendencies without judgment and gently remind yourself that it's okay not to have everything figured out. Focus on what you can control, your actions, attitudes, and responses, and release the rest. Another powerful approach is to trust the process of life. This means cultivating faith that things will work out as they're meant to, even if they don't follow your original plan. Reflect on moments in your past where situations didn't unfold the way you expected, yet eventually turned out for the best. Trusting the process is about recognizing that there is a larger order at work and that everything has its place. With this perspective, you can let go of the urge to manage every detail and instead flow with life. Practicing gratitude is another key tool in releasing control. When you shift your attention toward what you already have and appreciate it, your focus naturally moves away from the things you feel you lack or must tightly control. Take a moment each day to reflect on what you're grateful for, big or small. This habit grounds you in the present moment and helps reduce the anxiety tied to controlling the future. Engaging in activities that emphasize flow and spontaneity can also be transformative. Creative pursuits such as painting, dancing, or playing music immerse you in the moment and encourage you to allow things to unfold naturally. Similarly, spending time in nature offers a reminder of the effortless flow of life, the rivers, the wind, the trees, all moving in harmony without human interference. Both creativity and nature teach us to release outcomes and simply be present.
Finally, setting healthy boundaries is crucial in this practice. Recognize that you cannot control other people's actions, decisions, or paths in life. Trying to do so often strains relationships. Instead, focus on protecting your own well-being by communicating your needs clearly while respecting the autonomy of others. Boundaries create balance, reduce the urge to control, and allow relationships to thrive more naturally. Letting go of control is not about avoiding responsibility or becoming passive. It is about recognizing the limits of your control, focusing your energy on what truly matters, and allowing life to unfold in its natural rhythm. By practicing mindfulness, trusting the process, embracing gratitude, engaging in flow, and setting healthy boundaries, you can release the constant pressure to control everything. In doing so, you create space for greater peace, stronger relationships, authentic living, and the freedom to move with life rather than against it.
Personal stories. To understand how the principles of Taoism and the art of letting go can be applied in real life, let's look at some personal stories. These anecdotes illustrate how individuals have used these principles to find greater peace, happiness, and success. One such story is about Sarah, a successful businesswoman who found herself constantly stressed and overwhelmed. Despite her accomplishments, she felt a persistent sense of dissatisfaction and anxiety. Sarah's turning point came when she was introduced to the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. She began to practice mindfulness and meditation, focusing on being present and letting go of her need to control every outcome. Sarah learned to trust that things would work out as they were meant to without her constant intervention. By adopting this mindset, she found that she was able to make better decisions, reduce her stress, and enjoy her work more. Her relationships improved as she let go of unrealistic expectations and began to appreciate people for who they were. Sarah's story shows how the practice of letting go can transform one's professional and personal life. Another inspiring story is that of John, who struggled with anger and resentment for many years. He held on to grudges and past hurts, which affected his mental health and relationships. Through the practice of non-attachment, John learned to let go of his anger and embrace forgiveness. He started a daily meditation practice, focusing on releasing negative emotions and cultivating compassion. Over time, John noticed a significant change in his outlook on life. He became more patient, understanding, and at peace with himself and others. His story demonstrates the profound impact that letting go of negative emotions can have on one's well-being and relationships. The principles of Taoism and the art of letting go have also been embodied by many well-known individuals and historical figures. These people have shown that by embracing these principles, one can achieve remarkable success and fulfillment. One famous example is Bruce Lee, the legendary martial artist and actor. Bruce Lee was deeply influenced by Taoist philosophy, particularly the concept of Wu Wei. He believed in the importance of being like water, adaptable, flexible, and able to flow around obstacles. As he put it, be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. This approach not only shaped his martial arts style, but also his outlook on life. Lee's ability to let go of rigid techniques and embrace fluidity allowed him to innovate and excel in his field. His success and enduring legacy are testaments to the power of Taoist principles. Another historical figure who exemplified the art of letting go was Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism and the author of the Tao Te Ching. Although little is known about his life, his teachings have had a lasting impact on millions of people around the world. His emphasis on simplicity, humility, and harmony with the Tao provides a timeless guide for living a balanced and fulfilling life. According to legend, Lao Tzu chose to leave his position as a court archivist and live a simple, solitary life free from the trappings of power and ambition. His ability to let go of worldly desires and live in harmony with nature continues to inspire people to this day. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., is another prominent figure who practiced the art of letting go.
Jobs was known for his innovative thinking and ability to embrace change. He understood that failure and setbacks were part of the journey, and that holding on to rigid plans or ideas could hinder progress. Jobs once said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." This philosophy of letting go of fear and attachment allowed him to take bold risks and drive innovation, leading to the creation of some of the most groundbreaking products in technology. These examples show that the principles of Taoism and the art of letting go are not just theoretical concepts, but practical tools that can lead to profound personal transformation. Whether through the adaptability of Bruce Lee, the simplicity of Lao Tzu, or the innovation of Steve Jobs, these individuals demonstrate that letting go can open the door to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. By embracing these principles, we can navigate the challenges of life with greater ease and grace, finding peace and contentment in the ever-changing flow of existence.
As we come to the end of our exploration of Taoism and the power of letting go, let's take a moment to recap the key points we've discussed. We began by understanding the foundational concepts of Taoism, including the Tao, Wu Wei, and Yin Yang. These principles teach us about the natural flow of life and the importance of living in harmony with it. We learned that letting go is not about giving up, but about trusting the process of life and allowing things to unfold naturally. We explored the idea of Wu Wei, or effortless action, which encourages us to act in harmony with the natural flow rather than forcing outcomes. We also looked at the importance of simplicity and patience, emphasizing that a simpler life with fewer desires can bring greater peace and contentment. Non-attachment was another crucial theme, showing us the benefits of detaching from material possessions, rigid ideas, and the ego. The benefits of letting go were illustrated through its impact on mental peace, improved relationships, increased creativity, and a profound sense of personal freedom. By letting go of control, we reduce stress and anxiety, foster healthier relationships, open ourselves to new ideas, and live more authentically. We also shared practical steps for practicing letting go, such as mindfulness and meditation, the power of acceptance, the mental and physical benefits of decluttering, and strategies to release control. These steps form a roadmap for weaving Taoist principles into daily life. Throughout this journey, we highlighted real-life stories and examples of individuals who applied Taoist principles successfully, showing us that these ideas are not just theories, but tools for deep personal transformation. From Bruce Lee to Lao Tzu to Steve Jobs, their examples inspire us to embrace the power of letting go in our own lives. Embracing this path is ultimately a journey toward peace, freedom, and fulfillment. It is about trusting life's natural flow and releasing the burdens that weigh us down. As Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, wisely said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." This captures the essence of letting go, allowing ourselves to grow and evolve without being bound by fear or attachment. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or goals. It means pursuing them with openness and flexibility, trusting that the right opportunities and outcomes will come your way. It's about finding balance and harmony in every aspect of your life, your relationships, your work, and your personal growth. As you move forward, practice Taoist principles in small steps. Try mindfulness, declutter your space, or release an old hurt. Notice the changes these small acts bring into your life, and let them guide you further down this path. Letting go is an act of self-liberation. It frees you from the need to control everything and allows you to live more fully and authentically. By embracing this philosophy, you can find peace and fulfillment no matter what challenges arise. Have you ever wondered what truly makes life meaningful? What if I told you that ancient wisdom holds the key to transforming your life in ways you never imagined? In this next video, we're going to explore 12 powerful questions rooted in Stoic philosophy. Questions designed to challenge your perspective and help you live a more fulfilling life. Picture this. You wake up each day feeling calm, centered, and in control no matter what life throws your way. You navigate challenges with grace, find joy in the simplest moments, and stay true to your values. This isn't a fantasy. It's a reality the Stoics believed anyone could achieve by asking the right questions and reflecting on their answers. By the end of this journey, you'll have a toolkit of transformative questions that can shift your mindset, reduce stress, and bring clarity to your purpose. Whether you're making a difficult decision, facing a setback, or simply searching for deeper meaning in your daily routine, these questions will give you the insights you need to thrive. But first, let's talk about Stoicism. Originating in ancient Greece around 300 BCE, Stoicism was founded by Zeno of Citium and later developed by thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or ignoring life's challenges. It's about cultivating inner strength and resilience so that you can face ups and downs with wisdom and balance. At its core, Stoicism rests on four principles: virtue, wisdom, self-control, and courage. Virtue means living in alignment with your highest values and striving to be a good person. Wisdom is about understanding the world and making sound judgments. Self-control is learning to manage your desires and emotions. And courage is the strength to face difficulties with bravery and perseverance. These four pillars form the foundation of Stoic thought, and they will guide us through the 12 questions we're about to explore, questions that have the power to change your life.
What is truly within my control? The first question, what is truly within my control, is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believe that recognizing the boundaries of our control is essential for achieving inner peace and resilience. This concept is central to Epictetus's teachings, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, who asserted that we should focus only on what we can control and accept what we cannot. So, what exactly is within our control? According to the Stoics, our thoughts, actions, and reactions are within our control. We can choose how we interpret events, how we respond to them, and the decisions we make. On the other hand, external events, other people's actions, and outcomes are beyond our control. For instance, you can control how much effort you put into preparing for an exam, but you cannot control the questions that will be asked or how the examiner will grade your paper. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. The traffic jam itself is beyond your control. However, your reaction to the situation is within your control. You can choose to get frustrated, honk your horn, and stress out. Or you can take a deep breath, accept the situation, and perhaps use the time to listen to an interesting podcast or plan your meeting in your head. By focusing on what you can control, your reaction, you reduce your anxiety and maintain your composure. Another example is dealing with criticism. If someone criticizes you unfairly, their opinion is beyond your control. However, how you respond to that criticism is within your control. You can choose to react defensively and let it ruin your day. Or you can consider whether there is any constructive feedback in their comments, thank them for their perspective, and move on with your life. By focusing on what you can control, you maintain your peace of mind and protect your emotional well-being. Reflect on this for a moment. What aspects of your life are you trying to control that are actually beyond your influence? How does this attempt to control the uncontrollable contribute to your stress and anxiety? By shifting your focus to what you can control, you empower yourself and foster a more serene and balanced state of mind. This perspective can help reduce anxiety because it allows you to let go of the futile effort of trying to manage things that are simply out of your hands.
What am I attaching to? What am I attaching my happiness to? This question invites us to examine the sources of our happiness. Many of us tie our happiness to external circumstances, such as success, wealth, relationships, or social status. While these can contribute to a sense of joy, the Stoics warn against making them the sole basis of our happiness.
External sources of happiness are fleeting and unpredictable. They are subject to change and can be taken away at any moment. For instance, a job promotion might bring you joy, but if your happiness is entirely dependent on that promotion, what happens if you lose your job? Stoicism encourages us to cultivate an internal source of happiness, one that is stable and enduring, regardless of external circumstances. How do we find happiness within? The Stoics suggest focusing on living virtuously and aligning our actions with our core values. Happiness in this context comes from being a good person, acting with integrity, and developing inner qualities such as wisdom, courage, and self-control. For example, finding joy in the act of helping others, learning new things, or simply appreciating the beauty of nature can be sources of internal happiness that are less susceptible to external changes. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where does your happiness come from? Are you overly reliant on external factors? How can you cultivate a deeper, more internal sense of joy? By identifying and nurturing these internal sources of happiness, you build a more resilient foundation for a fulfilling life. For instance, think about the activities that make you feel truly content and fulfilled. Are they dependent on external approval or success? Or do they stem from a sense of personal achievement and alignment with your values? Maybe you find happiness in creating art, not because it earns you accolades, but because it allows you to express yourself authentically. Or perhaps you find happiness in spending time with loved ones, not because of any material gain, but because of the meaningful connections you share. Reflect on where your happiness comes from and how you can cultivate inner joy. By focusing on internal sources of happiness, you can create a more stable and enduring sense of fulfillment that is less vulnerable to external changes. How would a sage respond? The third question, how would a sage respond to this situation, encourages us to reflect on how a wise and virtuous person might handle challenges. In Stoic philosophy, a sage is described as someone who represents the highest ideals of wisdom and virtue, while reaching the level of a true sage is more of an aspirational goal than a realistic expectation. Striving to follow the kinds of responses a sage would give can guide us toward better decision-making and a deeper sense of inner peace. A Stoic sage would approach difficulties with calm, rationality, and virtue. For example, if confronted with a personal attack or harsh criticism, a sage would not respond with anger, irritation, or defensiveness. Instead, they would try to understand the critic's perspective, remain composed, and answer with measured and thoughtful words. This type of response not only diffuses tension in the moment, but also allows the sage to maintain integrity and self-respect. Consider a common challenge, such as dealing with failure. When we fail at something that matters deeply to us, it is natural to feel disheartened or even tempted to give up. Yet a sage would view failure differently, seeing it as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. They would carefully examine what went wrong, take full responsibility for their actions, and then use the experience as a tool to refine their future decisions. This way, setbacks are transformed into valuable lessons that build resilience and determination, pushing us forward instead of holding us back. Another example is handling stress at work. Imagine facing a looming deadline with an overwhelming number of tasks demanding your attention. A sage-like response would not involve panicking or procrastinating, but instead would mean staying organized, prioritizing the most important tasks first, and reaching out for help if necessary. Their focus would remain steady and composed, ensuring that every action taken is both efficient and effective. Now think about a current problem you are facing. Ask yourself, how would a sage approach this? Visualize their calm presence,
their ability to carefully analyze the situation, and their commitment to virtuous action. By practicing a sage-like approach, you can handle your challenges with greater clarity, preserve your inner peace, and strengthen your resilience. This type of reflection is more than just a philosophical exercise. It becomes a practical guide. It helps you find solutions that are thoughtful and grounded, while allowing you to uphold your integrity and remain composed, no matter how difficult the situation may be.
What is my role? The fourth question, what is my role in this situation, prompts us to recognize our responsibilities and contributions in any given scenario. Understanding our role allows us to direct our efforts where they can be most effective and prevents us from becoming overwhelmed by factors that lie outside our control. When we identify our role, we gain clarity on the specific actions we need to take and how we can positively influence the outcome. In every situation, we hold a role to play. This role may be shaped by our job, our relationships, or our personal goals. For example, if you are a team leader at work, your role is to guide your team, make strategic decisions, and ensure that projects are successfully completed. If you are a parent, your role involves caring for and nurturing your children, teaching them values and supporting their growth. Recognizing your role helps you stay grounded and focused. It clarifies what is expected of you and what deserves your priority. Let's consider a common example, a conflict with a colleague. In such a case, your role might be to mediate and to work toward a resolution that benefits both parties. With this understanding, you can approach the conflict with a calm and clear mind, aiming to find common ground rather than allowing the dispute to escalate. You might listen attentively, empathize with the other person's perspective, and seek a collaborative solution. Recognizing your role also matters deeply in personal relationships. Imagine a disagreement within your family. In such a situation, your role may not be to win the argument, but instead to provide understanding, support, and patience. By focusing on your responsibility to create a harmonious and caring environment, you can navigate the disagreement with compassion instead of hostility. Take a moment to reflect on a recent conflict or difficult situation in your own life. Ask yourself, what was my role in that scenario? How could focusing more clearly on my responsibilities have helped me manage it better? By defining and embracing our roles, we position ourselves to act more effectively and to maintain a clear sense of purpose. This approach not only helps us resolve conflicts, but also strengthens the way we make everyday decisions. It provides us with a framework for understanding what needs to be done, why it matters, and how we can contribute meaningfully to the situations we face.
What virtues can I practice? The fifth question, what virtues can I practice right now, encourages us to actively embody Stoic virtues in our daily lives. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of living virtuously, and this question helps us identify opportunities to practice virtues such as courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. These virtues form the foundation of good character and guide our actions toward moral excellence. Courage, in Stoic terms, means the ability to face challenges and fears with bravery. It is about standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. You can practice courage by speaking out against injustice, trying new experiences that intimidate you, or staying true to your values despite pressure to conform. For example, if you see someone being treated unfairly, courage might mean stepping in to support that person even if it feels uncomfortable. Justice involves treating others with fairness and respect, ensuring that everyone is given what is due. Practicing justice can be as simple as acknowledging others' contributions, being honest in your dealings, or standing up for those who are marginalized. In everyday life, justice might mean being fair in your judgments, giving credit where it is deserved, and treating everyone with dignity regardless of their status or background. Temperance is the virtue of self-control and moderation. It is about managing your desires and impulses to maintain balance in life. You can practice temperance by setting limits on indulgences,
controlling your emotional reactions, or keeping a balanced approach between work and leisure. For instance, temperance could mean avoiding overeating when stressed, or resisting the urge to make impulsive purchases. Wisdom is the ability to make sound judgments based on knowledge and understanding. It involves critical thinking, reflection, and learning from experience. You can practice wisdom by seeking knowledge, reflecting on what you've learned, and making informed decisions. In everyday life, wisdom might show up in taking time to understand different perspectives before forming an opinion, or applying lessons from past mistakes to improve your future actions. Take a moment to reflect on today. Which virtue can you focus on and practice right now? Identify specific actions you can take to embody it. For example, if you choose courage, you might decide to speak up in a meeting where you have something important to contribute. If you choose temperance, you might set a goal to create a balanced schedule that includes time for work, rest, and self-care. By consciously practicing virtues, you strengthen your character, build healthier relationships, and move toward a more fulfilling life.
What is the worst that can happen? The sixth question, what is the worst that can happen, introduces the Stoic practice of negative visualization. This practice involves imagining the worst-case scenario in order to reduce fear and anxiety. While it might sound counterintuitive, envisioning potential problems helps us prepare mentally and emotionally, making us more resilient in the face of difficulties. Negative visualization is not about becoming pessimistic. Rather, it is about developing mental strength. By contemplating the worst possible outcomes, we become less afraid of them and more capable of handling them if they occur. For example, if you are nervous about a job interview, imagine the worst-case outcome, not getting the job. Accepting this possibility allows you to realize that even if it happens, you can handle it. Other opportunities will arise and life will continue. Another example might be dealing with a health concern. Suppose you are waiting for results from a medical test and feeling anxious. Through negative visualization, you would imagine the worst possible result, that the test reveals a serious condition. By mentally preparing for that outcome, you can also prepare for the steps you would need to take, seeking treatment, adjusting your lifestyle, or finding support. This reduces the shock and fear if the outcome is indeed serious, and helps you feel more in control. Negative visualization also applies to everyday situations. For instance, if you are planning an outdoor event, imagine that it rains on that day. By considering this possibility, you can prepare alternatives, such as arranging tents or finding an indoor location. This reduces anxiety about the weather and ensures you're ready to adapt if the situation arises. Reflect on a situation in your own life that is causing you anxiety. Ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Visualize this scenario in detail and think about how you would cope. Consider the resources you would need, the actions you could take, and the support you might seek. By confronting your fears head-on, you lessen their power over you and approach challenges with greater calm and confidence.
Am I being driven by desire or aversion? The seventh question, am I being driven by desire or aversion, asks us to carefully examine the motivations behind our actions. In Stoic philosophy, desire refers to the pursuit of things we believe will bring us pleasure, while aversion refers to the avoidance of things we believe will bring us pain. These two primary drivers of human behavior, if not managed properly, can often lead us astray. Desires can range from the most basic needs, such as food and shelter, to more complex longings, such as wealth, social status, and approval. Some desires are natural and necessary, but when they become excessive, they can lead to negative consequences. For instance, an excessive desire for wealth may drive someone to work long hours, sacrificing their health and their relationships in the process. Stoicism teaches us to practice moderation and self-control so that our desires never dominate our lives. Aversions, on the other hand, are things we try to avoid because they cause discomfort or fear. These may include physical pain, rejection, or even failure. While it is natural to avoid pain, letting aversions control our actions can hold us back from growth and limit our potential. For example, avoiding public speaking out of fear of embarrassment might seem like self-protection, but in reality, it blocks personal and professional development. Stoicism encourages us to confront our fears and accept discomfort as a natural part of life, helping us build resilience and strength. Stoic strategies for managing desires and aversions focus on self-awareness and rational reflection. The first step is to identify them. Reflect on your thoughts and actions and ask yourself why you desire or avoid certain things. Are these feelings rooted in rational needs and true values, or are they fueled by irrational fears and societal pressures? Once you understand the source, you can apply Stoic principles to manage them. For desires, practice temperance by setting clear limits and focusing on what is essential. Remind yourself that genuine happiness comes from within and does not depend on possessions or external achievements. For aversions, practice courage by facing your fears gradually. Recognize that discomfort and challenges are opportunities to grow stronger, and avoiding them only keeps you from realizing your full potential. Take a moment to reflect on a recent decision. Was it driven by desire or by aversion? How did this motivation influence your actions and the outcome? By becoming aware of these inner drivers, you can make more conscious choices, align your actions with your values, and ultimately find greater fulfillment.
How can I use this challenge as an opportunity for growth? The eighth question, how can I use this challenge as an opportunity for growth, encourages us to adopt a growth mindset, which is deeply connected to the Stoic concept of amor fati, or love of fate. Amor fati is the idea that we should embrace all events in our lives, including the difficulties and hardships, as necessary and beneficial parts of our journey. Stoics believed that every obstacle presents a chance to develop our character and abilities. When we face challenges, instead of treating them only as setbacks, we can see them as opportunities to practice resilience, patience, and creativity. This perspective transforms obstacles into stepping stones for personal development and strength. Consider a situation where you are facing a serious challenge, such as a professional failure or a personal loss. It is natural to feel discouraged, disappointed, or even broken by such experiences. But Stoicism teaches us to look beyond the immediate pain and to see the hidden possibilities for growth. For example, losing a job can feel overwhelming at first, but it might push you to develop new skills, explore different career paths, or even start your own business. Similarly, a personal loss, while deeply painful, can expand your empathy and strengthen your relationships with others. To apply this Stoic perspective, begin by accepting the reality of the challenge. Rather than resisting or denying it, embrace it as part of your journey. Then, analyze the situation. Ask yourself what lessons it can teach you. What skills can you develop here? What strengths can you build? In what ways can this experience shape you into a better version of yourself? Finally, take proactive steps to transform the challenge into an opportunity. Set goals, seek support, and remain committed to your growth. Identify a current challenge you are facing and brainstorm how it could lead to personal development. Think about the skills you could sharpen, the lessons you could carry forward, and the strengths you could cultivate. By embracing challenges with a growth mindset, you learn to transform obstacles into valuable opportunities for self-improvement, and every hardship becomes a chance to rise stronger and wiser.
The ninth question, what can I be grateful for right now? Gratitude is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we already have, enhancing our sense of well-being and appreciation for life. The Stoics believe that gratitude helps cultivate resilience and a more positive mindset.
Practicing gratitude means recognizing and appreciating the positive aspects of our lives, no matter how small. It could be something as simple as the support of a friend, the beauty of nature, or even a meal on the table. When we make a habit of reflecting on what we're thankful for, we develop a deeper sense of contentment. This not only strengthens our mental health, but also improves our relationships and increases happiness. To cultivate gratitude, set aside a few minutes each day to reflect on what you appreciate. You might choose the morning to set a positive tone for the day, or the evening to review the good things that happened. Writing these reflections in a gratitude journal can reinforce the habit and give you something uplifting to revisit later. Mindful awareness is another way to practice gratitude. Throughout your day, pause to notice the little things, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of your favorite food, or the sound of laughter. These moments of appreciation may seem small, but they significantly improve our overall outlook. You can also express gratitude directly to others. A simple thank you note, a kind word, or a thoughtful gesture can strengthen your connections and spread positivity. Take a moment to reflect right now. What are 3 things you can be grateful for today? They might be big or small, tangible or intangible. By making gratitude a consistent practice, you train your mind to focus on the positive aspects of life, becoming more appreciative and more content.
The 10th question: how would I act if I had no fear? Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we face, and it often keeps us from living fully. It can prevent us from taking risks, trying new experiences, or pursuing dreams. Stoic philosophy challenges us to examine how fear influences our actions and to imagine who we might become without its grip. Fear shows up in many ways: procrastination, avoidance of challenges, or even settling for less than we deserve. The fear of failure might stop someone from launching a business, even when they have the talent and the idea to succeed. The fear of rejection might silence someone who longs to express their feelings to a loved one, missing the chance for a deeper connection. The Stoics offered strategies to weaken fear's hold. One powerful practice is negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario and preparing for it mentally and emotionally. By confronting the possibility of failure or rejection in our minds, we reduce its power and increase our confidence in handling it. Another key principle is focusing only on what lies within our control. Many of our fears are rooted in outcomes beyond our influence. By redirecting attention to our actions and responses rather than results, we can reduce anxiety and act with clarity. For example, if you fear public speaking, concentrate on preparing your message and delivering it clearly, rather than worrying about how the audience will react. Stoicism also encourages us to embrace discomfort as a natural part of growth. By gradually exposing ourselves to uncomfortable situations, we build resilience and weaken fear's grip. This could mean starting with small steps outside your comfort zone, like speaking up in a meeting or trying a new hobby, then gradually challenging yourself further.
The 11th question: what is my guiding principle? This question invites us to define a personal philosophy or mission statement that guides our choices and decisions. Having a clear guiding principle keeps us aligned with our values and sense of purpose, giving our lives direction and consistency. A guiding principle can take the form of a statement or a set of values that reflect what is most important to you. For example, your principle might be to act with integrity, to show compassion, or to pursue lifelong growth. Once defined, this principle becomes a compass that directs your behavior, helping you remain true to yourself even in difficult circumstances. To define your guiding principle, start by reflecting on your core values. What qualities do you admire most in others? What traits do you want to embody in your own life? Write down a few that resonate deeply with you, values such as honesty, kindness, or perseverance. Next, translate those values into a guiding principle. If you value honesty, your principle might be, always speak the truth even when it is difficult.
Once you've identified your principle, the key is to regularly evaluate your actions against it. Are your choices consistent with what you believe in? This may mean making hard decisions, such as standing up for your beliefs, admitting when you're wrong, or considering how your actions affect others. Take time to write down your guiding principle and reflect on how it influences your daily decisions. Think back to recent choices you've made. Did they align with your principle? If not, what changes can you make to live in closer harmony with it? By consciously following your guiding principle, you strengthen your integrity, build purpose, and cultivate greater satisfaction in life.
The 12th question, am I living according to my values? This question challenges us to regularly examine our actions to see if they align with the principles we hold most dear. Living according to our values brings authenticity and fulfillment because it means we are acting in harmony with who we truly are. Our values are the fundamental beliefs that guide us, qualities like honesty, kindness, responsibility, or fairness. When our behavior reflects these values, we build trust with others and live with integrity. But when our actions drift away from them, we feel inner conflict and dissatisfaction. To assess whether you are living by your values, start by clearly identifying what they are. What principles matter most to you? What qualities do you want to embody every day? Write down your top values, then reflect on your recent actions and decisions. Did they align with what you believe in? For example, if honesty is a core value, ask whether you've been truthful in your relationships. If kindness is important, examine whether you've acted with compassion toward others. If you find moments where your actions have not reflected your values, don't be discouraged. Recognizing this misalignment is the first step toward positive change. Reflect on why you acted differently. Were there external pressures? Was fear involved? Understanding the cause will help you realign your behavior. From there, take practical steps to bring your actions back in line with your values. Set goals that reflect them. Seek support from people who hold you accountable, and practice self-compassion as you grow. By consistently evaluating your choices and realigning them with your values, you create a life that is more authentic, meaningful, and fulfilling. Not only does this strengthen your sense of self, but it also builds respect and trust in your relationships with others.
As we conclude, let's revisit the 12 powerful questions that can reshape the way you live, all viewed through the wisdom of Stoic philosophy. These questions are not abstract musings. They are practical tools designed to help you navigate life with clarity, courage, and purpose. What is truly within my control? Focus your energy on what you can directly influence, your thoughts, actions, and responses, and release your grip on what lies beyond your control. What am I attaching my happiness to? Look inward. Instead of depending on wealth, success, or external approval, cultivate joy from within. How would a sage respond to this situation? Imagine how a wise and virtuous person would approach the challenges before you, and then model your own response on that example. What is my role in this situation? Clarify your responsibilities, understand what is expected of you, and focus on how you can contribute positively without being overwhelmed by what isn't yours to carry. What virtues can I practice right now? Bring Stoic virtues into daily life: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Every moment is an opportunity to practice them. What is the worst that can happen? Use negative visualization to face your fears in advance. By preparing your mind for challenges, you strip fear of its power. Am I being driven by desire or aversion? Examine the hidden motivations behind your actions. Practice moderation with your desires and courage in facing your aversions. How can I use this challenge as an opportunity for growth?
See difficulties not as setbacks, but as stepping stones. Let obstacles become fuel for resilience, strength, and personal development. What can I be grateful for right now? Shift your focus to what you already have. Gratitude transforms your outlook, builds resilience, and nurtures joy. How would I act if I had no fear? Imagine a life free of fear's grip. What would you pursue? What risks would you take? Use this vision to guide your steps forward. What is my guiding principle? Define the compass of your life, a personal philosophy rooted in your values that directs your choices and actions. Am I living according to my values? Regularly assess your life. Do your actions reflect what you believe in? If not, make the necessary adjustments to realign yourself with your values.
These questions are far more than intellectual exercises. They are daily practices that ground you in wisdom and keep you aligned with virtue. By reflecting on them regularly, whether in quiet thought or through journaling, you build a habit of mindfulness that strengthens your character and sharpens your clarity. Personal growth, after all, is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. There will be setbacks, doubts, and moments of weakness. That is natural. What matters is the willingness to return to these principles again and again, with patience and compassion for yourself. Stoicism teaches us that we are not powerless in the face of life's difficulties. We hold the ability to shape our destinies through our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. By practicing these 12 questions, you equip yourself with tools to face hardship with grace, to meet uncertainty with courage, and to embrace joy with gratitude. Keep these questions close to your heart. Let them guide you through moments of trial and help you savor moments of triumph. The path to wisdom and virtue may not always be easy, but it is always rewarding. You have within you the power to create positive change for yourself and for those around you. With the guidance of Stoic philosophy, you can walk forward with resilience, purpose, and an unshakable sense of inner strength. In a world brimming with choices, clutter, and constant stimulation, this statement by Leonardo da Vinci resonates more powerfully today than it perhaps did in his time. It leads us to a profound yet often overlooked concept: minimalism. But what exactly is minimalism, and how does it relate to our pursuit of happiness? Minimalism, in its essence, is the intentional promotion of the things we most value and the removal of everything that distracts us from it. It's not merely a design aesthetic or a superficial decluttering exercise. It's a mindset, a way of life that encourages us to find beauty and satisfaction in simplicity. This philosophy, while seemingly modern, has roots that delve deep into various cultures and historical epochs. Its relevance has only magnified in our current age, where the excess and superficial often overshadow the meaningful and fulfilling. My journey into the realm of minimalism began not in a moment of epiphany, but through a series of realizations over time. I remember standing in my room one evening, surrounded by things I had collected over the years. Books I never read, gadgets I barely used, and clothes I hardly wore. It struck me then, the disproportionate amount of time and energy I had invested in acquiring and maintaining these possessions compared to the joy they brought me. This imbalance led me down a path of introspection, reading, and eventually adopting a minimalist lifestyle. It wasn't just about getting rid of stuff. It was about recalibrating my life's priorities. In this video, we will delve into the multifaceted world of minimalism. We'll start by exploring its historical roots, understanding how various cultures and philosophers over centuries have embraced simplicity and how it contributed to their sense of contentment. Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism, Western thinkers such as Epicurus and Henry David Thoreau, and even contemporary voices in the minimalist movement have all echoed similar sentiments.
The less you have, the more you can focus on what truly matters. But how does this ancient wisdom hold up in the face of modern challenges? Our digital age, characterized by a constant barrage of information and material temptations, poses unique obstacles to a minimalist lifestyle. Hence, a significant part of our discussion will be dedicated to adapting minimalism in the digital era. We'll explore strategies for digital decluttering, managing technology's pervasive presence in our lives, and finding a balance that fosters well-being. Moreover, we'll discuss how minimalism can be practically integrated into various aspects of our life, from our professional careers and personal relationships to the very way we perceive and engage with the world around us. It's about cultivating a mindset that values quality over quantity, experiences over possessions, and intentional living over mindless consumption. But it's not all smooth sailing. Adopting a minimalist approach comes with its set of challenges and misconceptions. One of the common myths is that minimalism is about depriving yourself, living with the bare minimum, or adhering to a strict set of rules. In this video, we'll bust these myths and discuss how to navigate the challenges that come with choosing a path less traveled, a path of minimalism. As we conclude, I'll share some final thoughts on how this journey of minimalism has influenced my life, the joy and clarity it has brought me, the sense of freedom from the unnecessary, and the peace that comes with knowing that what I own and do aligns with my deepest values. Let's embark on this exploration together. Let's discover how less can indeed be more, how simplicity can lead to sophistication, and how in the pursuit of owning less, we might just find ourselves living more.
The concept of minimalism, though seemingly a modern phenomenon, is deeply rooted in the history and philosophies of various cultures across the world. Its origins are as diverse as they are ancient, reflecting a universal human inclination towards simplicity and essence. In ancient civilizations, we find the earliest expressions of minimalist thought. The ancient Greeks, for instance, had a word for it, eukrasia, which means simplicity or good mixture. This concept was central to their philosophy, art, and architecture, emphasizing balance and harmony over excess and embellishment. Philosophers like Socrates advocated for a life focused on the development of the soul rather than the accumulation of material wealth. His lifestyle and teachings laid the foundation for later philosophers like Diogenes and Epicurus, who further expounded on the virtues of living simply and contentedly with little. Simultaneously, in the Eastern world, similar ideas were emerging. Buddhism, with its emphasis on detachment from material desires, aligns closely with minimalist principles. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering, advocating for a life of moderation and mindfulness. Similarly, Taoism, with its principle of wu wei, or non-action, encourages a harmonious way of living that is in alignment with the natural world, free from unnecessary excess. In the monastic traditions of Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, we also see a strong emphasis on simplicity. Monks and nuns in these religions often take vows of poverty and lead lives of minimal material possessions, focusing instead on spiritual growth and community service. This emphasis on spiritual rather than material wealth persisted through the Middle Ages, where, despite the opulence of the nobility, the majority lived simply, often out of necessity rather than choice. During the Renaissance, a shift occurred as humanism and the pursuit of knowledge and artistic expression took center stage. However, this period also saw figures like Leonardo da Vinci, who, despite his myriad inventions and artworks, preached the virtue of simplicity. The Reformation further challenged the excesses of the Church, with figures like Martin Luther advocating for a return to the core teachings of Christianity, free from the elaborate rituals and opulence that had come to characterize the institution. The Enlightenment era brought a renewed focus on rational thought and individualism. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Jean-Jacques Rousseau emphasized the importance of living in accordance with one's own principles,
often advocating for a simpler, more authentic way of life. Rousseau, in particular, criticized the artificiality of society and posited that man was happiest in a state closer to nature. The Industrial Revolution marked a significant departure from these ideals, as mass production and consumerism began to take hold. Yet even in this era, there were dissenting voices. The arts and crafts movement of the late 19th century, led by figures like William Morris, was a reaction against the excesses of industrialization, advocating for craftsmanship and simplicity in design. In the 20th century, minimalism began to take on its more modern form. The post-World War II era, especially in art and architecture, saw a movement toward minimalism as a response to the complexity and trauma of the war years. Artists and architects like Frank Lloyd Wright and Mies van der Rohe embraced simplicity, functionality, and the beauty of unadorned forms. This period also saw the emergence of the less is more philosophy, which has since become a mantra for the minimalist movement. Today, minimalism is often seen as a counter-movement to the rampant consumerism and digital overload of contemporary society. It is a reemergence of ancient wisdom, adapted to modern challenges, encouraging us to find fulfillment not in possessions or status, but in experiences, relationships, and personal growth. As we trace the lineage of minimalist thought from the ancient world to the present, it's clear that this philosophy is not a trend, but a timeless approach to living that has been revisited and reinvented across cultures and centuries. Its enduring appeal lies in its simplicity and universality, a call to focus on what's truly essential.
As we delve deeper into the realm of minimalism, it's essential to explore the perspectives of various philosophers who have shaped the minimalist ideology. Their teachings, originating from different corners of the world, converge on the principle of simplicity and the pursuit of a meaningful life. Buddhism, one of the world's oldest philosophies, offers profound insights into minimalism. At its core, Buddhism teaches the middle way, avoiding both extreme indulgence and severe asceticism. Central to Buddhist thought is the concept of dukkha, often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction, which arises from attachment to desires and material possessions. The Buddha emphasized the impermanent nature of all things, advocating for detachment and mindfulness as paths to inner peace and enlightenment. This detachment isn't about deprivation, but about understanding the transient nature of worldly possessions and finding contentment in simplicity and in the present moment. Taoism, another pillar of Eastern philosophy, also echoes minimalist principles. Its foundational text, the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu, emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, the way, a principle that signifies the essential, unchanging nature of the universe. Taoism advocates simplicity, spontaneity, and frugality, encouraging adherents to align their lives with the natural order of things. The concept of wu wei, or non-action and effortless action in Taoism, is particularly relevant to minimalism. It suggests that the best way to live is by doing what comes naturally and not forcing or striving, thereby living a life of simplicity and authenticity.
Moving to Western philosophy, we encounter Diogenes of Sinope, a Greek philosopher and one of the most famous figures of the Cynical school. Diogenes took minimalism to an extreme, advocating for a life of radical simplicity and rejecting all forms of luxury. He believed that virtue was better revealed in action than in theory, and he lived this belief by eschewing societal norms and leading a life free from possessions. His philosophy was not just about physical minimalism, but also about challenging the unnecessary complexities of social conventions. Epicurus, another Greek philosopher, offered a different angle on minimalism. His philosophy, Epicureanism, is often misunderstood as advocating for indulgence in life's pleasures. But in reality, Epicurus promoted the idea of finding the greatest pleasure in the simplest of things.
He argued that the key to happiness was to seek modest pleasures, to attain tranquility and freedom from fear, and to live in self-sufficiency. For Epicurus, minimalism was about focusing on what truly brings joy and avoiding the unnecessary desires that lead to disappointment and disturbance. In the 19th century, Henry David Thoreau, an American philosopher and naturalist, explored the concept of living simply in his seminal work. Thoreau's experiment of living in a small cabin near Walden Pond was a practical application of transcendentalist philosophy, which emphasized the importance of nature and the inherent goodness of people. He advocated for a life that was deliberate and essential, free from the clutter of unnecessary material possessions. Thoreau's reflections on simplicity and nature continue to be a significant reference point in discussions about minimalism today.
In contemporary philosophy, minimalism is both advocated and critiqued. There are critiques of minimalism as a lifestyle choice, particularly in its modern commercialized form. Critics argue that minimalism, as practiced by some, can become another form of consumerism, a way to buy into a particular lifestyle that is marketed as simple but is in reality another form of consumption. This critique invites a deeper reflection on the essence of minimalism and challenges us to distinguish between its authentic practice and its superficial adoption. The discussion of minimalism in contemporary thought often revolves around the role of simplicity in our increasingly complex lives. Modern minimalists argue that in a world where we are constantly bombarded with choices and information, there's a profound peace and clarity that comes from simplifying, whether by decluttering our physical spaces, streamlining our daily routines, or focusing on our most meaningful relationships and activities. Furthermore, minimalism in contemporary philosophy is often linked with the concept of mindfulness. It's seen as a way to live more consciously and deliberately, making choices that are more aligned with our values and less influenced by societal pressures or consumerist culture. This perspective sees minimalism not just as a way to reduce physical clutter, but as a tool to cultivate mental and emotional clarity. In the digital age, minimalism takes on new challenges and forms. Philosophers and thinkers are now exploring what minimalism means in the context of digital consumption. This includes ideas around digital detox, managing information overload, and the mindful use of technology. The emphasis here is on quality over quantity, not just in terms of physical possessions, but also in our digital interactions and media consumption. On the critique side, some philosophers argue that minimalism, especially in its more extreme forms, can be a privilege that not everyone can afford. The ability to choose simplicity, they point out, assumes a certain level of security and resources. This critique challenges minimalists to consider the broader social and economic context in which they practice minimalism and to ensure that it remains inclusive and accessible. As we look to the future, the conversation around minimalism is evolving to include not just individual practices, but also societal and systemic changes. Philosophers and thought leaders are beginning to explore how minimalism can inform policy, business, and community life. They suggest that the principles of minimalism could even serve as a key to addressing some of the pressing challenges of our time, from mental health issues to the environmental crisis. The human tendency to form attachments to material possessions is deeply rooted in our psychology. These attachments often go far beyond the utilitarian value of the item itself. They tap into our emotions, memories, and sense of identity. From the teddy bear we clung to as children to the first car we bought with our hard-earned money, possessions can become extensions of ourselves, representing our history, our achievements, or even our aspirations. Psychologists have explored this phenomenon extensively. One theory suggests that these attachments are a form of self-expression. The things we own can symbolize who we are or who we aspire to be, acting as tangible representations of our identity. Another perspective points to the endowment effect, a cognitive bias that leads people to value an object more highly simply because it has become theirs. Beyond symbolism and bias, material possessions can also serve as a source of comfort and security. In times of uncertainty or stress, familiar objects offer a sense of stability and continuity. They anchor us to certain memories or stages of our life, providing a kind of psychological safety net. The sentimental value of possessions plays a powerful role here as well. Items that remind us of significant people, events, or moments often hold emotional weight far greater than their physical worth. This is one reason why decluttering can be so difficult. It's not merely about discarding objects, but about navigating the memories and emotions tied to them.
Other studies focusing on materialistic strivings reveal that people who place a high value on possessions and wealth often report lower life satisfaction and higher levels of distress. This aligns with the theory of hedonic adaptation, the idea that the joy we gain from new possessions quickly fades, leaving us stuck in a cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Minimalism emerges as a response to these psychological dynamics. By consciously choosing to own fewer possessions, minimalists attempt to break free from the cycle of craving and discontent that defines consumer culture. The philosophy suggests that reducing our dependence on external sources of happiness allows us to cultivate a deeper and more sustainable form of fulfillment that comes from within. Even the act of decluttering itself brings psychological benefits. It's not only about creating more physical space, it's also about creating mental clarity and emotional freedom. The act of decluttering is often associated with feelings of accomplishment and control. Clearing our physical space can lead to a clearer mind, reducing overwhelm and sharpening our ability to focus. Studies in environmental psychology suggest that environments with fewer distractions are far more conducive to productivity and creativity. Yet, the process of decluttering and detaching from possessions is not without its challenges. For many, it means confronting deeply ingrained habits and beliefs. It requires us to examine not only the objects we own, but also the emotional and psychological attachments tied to them. This process can be both liberating and daunting, as it often demands a reevaluation of our values and priorities. Mindfulness plays a central role in this minimalist approach to possessions. It asks us to be more deliberate in what we choose to keep, pausing to reflect on whether each item truly adds value to our lives. This shift encourages us to move away from impulsive buying and toward a more thoughtful, intentional style of consumption. Minimalism suggests that joy can be found in owning less. This joy isn't simply about the absence of clutter, but about the presence of space. Space that can be filled with experiences, relationships, and activities that bring genuine fulfillment. It's about creating room for what truly matters and directing our time, energy, and resources toward the aspects of life that contribute most meaningfully to our well-being. Minimalism also challenges the conventional definitions of success and happiness. Instead of measuring our worth by what we own, it invites us to value ourselves for who we are and for the quality of our lives. This redefinition is crucial in a world where material success is so often glorified. By reshaping how we think about fulfillment, minimalism allows for a broader, more inclusive understanding of what it truly means to live a meaningful life. The essence of minimalism lies in its flexibility and personalization. It's a common misconception that minimalism means living with the bare minimum or adhering to a strict set of rigid rules. In reality, minimalism is about prioritizing what truly matters on an individual level. It is a personal journey shaped by each person's unique values, needs, and circumstances. For some, minimalism might take the form of living in a tiny home with only the essentials. For others, it could mean having a more spacious home, but filling it only with items that bring value and joy. The common thread is the focus on simplicity and intentionality, creating room for the things that hold the greatest importance in life. The first step toward adopting a minimalist lifestyle is self-reflection. This involves asking key questions such as, what are my values? What brings me joy and fulfillment? What are my long-term goals? Understanding these aspects creates a foundation for deciding what to keep and what to let go of. This stage of reflection sets the tone for a more mindful and intentional approach to minimalism. The most tangible aspect of minimalism is decluttering, the process of removing unnecessary items from our living spaces. A practical way to begin is by tackling one room or area at a time. This prevents the overwhelm that can come from attempting to declutter the entire home at once. Items can then be sorted into categories: things to keep, donate, sell, or throw away. Minimalism also emphasizes quality over quantity. It encourages us to invest in fewer, higher-quality items that last longer, rather than filling our lives with cheap, low-quality possessions that quickly become clutter. This mindset not only reduces waste, but also supports a more sustainable and economical lifestyle in the long run. In today's digital age, minimalism naturally extends beyond the physical world into our digital lives. Digital minimalism involves decluttering and organizing our digital spaces, whether that's our overflowing email inboxes, scattered digital files, or the countless social media accounts that consume our attention. The goal is to be more selective about the digital content we engage with, ensuring that our online interactions are purposeful and genuinely enriching. Minimalism also applies to how we manage our time and commitments. It's about saying no to unnecessary obligations and focusing instead on activities that align with our values and bring joy. This might mean setting healthier boundaries, like limiting work hours or being more intentional with social engagements.
Another dimension is financial minimalism, which involves simplifying one's financial life. This could mean budgeting carefully, cutting unnecessary expenses, paying off debt, and prioritizing investments in experiences rather than things. The idea is to make financial decisions that support a minimalist lifestyle while paving the way for long-term security and freedom.
At the heart of this philosophy is the belief in valuing experiences over possessions. Rather than constantly acquiring more material goods, minimalism invites us to prioritize activities that create lasting memories and foster growth, like travel, learning new skills, or spending meaningful time with loved ones. Shifting focus from things to experiences often brings a deeper, more lasting sense of happiness. Minimalism also extends to our relationships. It encourages us to nurture deeper, more meaningful connections, rather than spreading ourselves thin across countless shallow ones. By investing more time and energy in a few close relationships, we often find greater fulfillment and richer interactions. It's important to remember that minimalism is not a one-time transformation. It's an ongoing process. It requires regular reflection and adjustment to keep our lifestyle aligned with our values and goals. This continual practice helps us balance simplicity with the unavoidable complexities of modern life. Of course, embracing minimalism comes with its challenges. There are societal pressures to conform to consumerist norms, along with the emotional difficulty of letting go of possessions. Overcoming these obstacles takes patience, persistence, and a strong belief in the benefits of simplicity. But the rewards are profound. Adopting minimalism leads to a more fulfilling life, one that is less cluttered, less stressful, and more aligned with our true values and aspirations. It's about creating both physical and mental space for what truly matters, ultimately leading to deeper contentment and well-being. In this exploration of minimalism, we've traced its roots through history,
philosophy, and practice, uncovering its lasting relevance across time and culture. We've seen how ancient civilizations and religious teachings laid the groundwork, and how figures like the Buddha, Laozi, Diogenes, Epicurus, and Thoreau gave it philosophical depth. We've also considered its role in modern times, its critiques, its digital dimensions, and its psychological insights into why we hold on to possessions and how clutter affects our well-being. And finally, we've looked at how minimalism can be lived today, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a flexible, personalized journey guided by intentionality and values. We've shared practical strategies on how to embrace minimalism, decluttering our spaces, making sustainable and ethical choices, managing our time and commitments more wisely, and prioritizing experiences over possessions. Throughout this journey, my own reflections have only deepened my belief in the transformative power of minimalism. By stripping away what is non-essential, we create room for what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. Minimalism, at its heart, isn't about having less for the sake of less. It's about making space for more. More time, more peace, more clarity, and ultimately, more happiness. As we close, I invite you to reflect on your own relationship with possessions and consumption. How might the principles of minimalism bring a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment to your life? Consider experimenting with even small practices, decluttering a space, investing in more meaningful relationships, or simply being more mindful of what you consume. Remember, the journey toward minimalism is not about deprivation. It is about enrichment, paring life down to its most beautiful essentials. Each step toward simplicity is also a step toward freedom, toward alignment with your deepest values, and toward a more fulfilling life. Embrace the essence of minimalism and discover the profound joy and serenity it can bring into your world. And as Leonardo da Vinci once said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In simplicity, we uncover elegance, clarity, and a pathway to true happiness. Let your journey be one of discovery, growth, and lasting fulfillment.
The pursuit of pleasure. Is this the secret recipe for a fulfilling life? This question, simple yet profound, has intrigued thinkers and seekers of wisdom for centuries. We venture into an age-old philosophical arena, hedonism. Hedonism proposes a fundamental idea. Seeking pleasure and avoiding pain are the most essential and desirable objectives of human existence. Yet beneath this seemingly clear-cut concept lies a rich tapestry of thought, layered with complexity and historical depth. The lineage of this idea can be traced back to the philosophical gardens of ancient Greece, where luminaries like Epicurus postulated that the pursuit of pleasure in its many facets is the highest good and ultimate aim of life. This philosophy has resonated through the corridors of time, influencing both the realms of thought and our everyday living. But what does it genuinely entail to lead a life in pursuit of pleasure? Is such an existence as gratifying and straightforward as it appears? Our expedition into the essence of hedonism will guide us across diverse terrains of intellectual debate and introspection. We will dissect the various interpretations of pleasure. Is it the ephemeral delight of instant gratification, or something more profound and enduring? We will scrutinize the ethical dimensions of this pleasure-centric life. Does prioritizing one's own joy lead to a selfish existence, or can it coexist with a moral and socially responsible life? An essential facet of our journey is the psychological underpinnings of this idea, particularly the concept of the hedonic treadmill. This psychological theory suggests our pursuit of pleasure might be comparable to running endlessly on a treadmill, always chasing happiness, but never quite achieving a lasting state of contentment. We adapt to both positive and negative life changes, and our happiness levels tend to revert to a baseline. What implications does this have for the hedonistic quest for pleasure? Does it deem the pursuit of pleasure as futile, or does it invite us to reconceptualize the nature of happiness and its pursuit?
In exploring these questions, we will also confront the critiques and challenges it faces. Ethical and moral concerns naturally arise when life's objective is defined as the pursuit of personal pleasure. How does this philosophy reconcile with these concerns? And what insights does it offer about striking a balance between personal joy and ethical conduct? Our exploration is not merely academic. Hedonism has tangible implications in today's world, where the quest for pleasure manifests in everything from consumer culture to the intricacies of social media. We will investigate how modern society mirrors hedonistic values and what this means for our understanding of joy and fulfillment. Ultimately, we will weave together the various strands of our discussion, reflecting on hedonism's role in the quest for a meaningful life. Is this the key to true happiness, or a path laden with illusions and challenges? Can the principles of this philosophy be woven into a life that is balanced, ethical, and truly fulfilling? Through this exploration, our goal is not just to comprehend hedonism as a philosophical concept, but to ponder its significance and practicality in our lives. Whether you are a philosophy enthusiast, someone exploring different paths to happiness, or merely interested in understanding the human inclination towards pleasure, this journey promises enlightenment, provocation, and potentially transformation.
Embarking on our journey through the nuanced landscape of pleasure-focused philosophy, we delve into the core principles that define this intriguing way of life. The central tenet, the cornerstone of this philosophy, is the elevation of pleasure to the status of the highest good. This principle stands as the bedrock upon which the philosophy's entire structure is built. But what is this pleasure that is so fervently sought? Is it a singular, monolithic experience, or does it encompass a spectrum of sensations and states of being? The very concept of pleasure, in its broadest sense, is multifaceted and subjective. To some, it may manifest as sensory delight, the pleasure derived from a sumptuous meal, the touch of silk, or the melody of a beautifully composed piece of music. For others, pleasure takes a more cerebral form, the joy of intellectual discovery, the satisfaction of creative expression, or the tranquility found in meditative practices. The diversity in the interpretation of pleasure is as vast as the range of human experience itself. It's a reminder that what constitutes pleasure varies immensely from person to person, culture to culture, and even within an individual's own life journey. This brings us to the intriguing dichotomy between short-term and long-term happiness. The philosophy, often criticized for promoting a lifestyle of fleeting momentary pleasures, challenges us to reconsider the depth and duration of true happiness. Can a series of short-lived pleasures lead to a state of long-lasting happiness? Or is there a need for a more profound, enduring form of joy that sustains us through the vicissitudes of life? Short-term pleasures, while immediately gratifying, often carry the risk of leading to a sense of emptiness or lack of fulfillment in the long run. The pursuit of such transient joys can sometimes be akin to chasing mirages, endlessly alluring but ultimately elusive. On the other hand, focusing solely on long-term happiness might lead to a life of perpetual striving, where the joy of the present moment is consistently sacrificed at the altar of a future that may or may not bring the anticipated satisfaction.
The hedonic treadmill and the search for enduring happiness. Balancing these two forms of happiness is never simple. It's delicate, it's complex, and it demands a genuine understanding of your own desires and values. It also requires a mindful way of approaching life's choices. Living by this philosophy isn't about endlessly piling up pleasurable experiences. It's about learning to cultivate awareness of what actually brings you lasting contentment, the kind that stays with you. The pursuit of pleasure has to be understood in the context of life as a whole. It's not about reckless indulgence or drowning in excess. Instead, it's about discovering joy in every part of our existence,
from the ordinary and mundane to the extraordinary and rare. It means recognizing that pleasure is hidden in the simplest of everyday experiences: the warmth of the sun on your skin, a meaningful conversation shared with a close friend, or the deep satisfaction of completing something with care and effort. And this perspective also forces us to ask important questions. Is the pursuit of personal pleasure compatible with living a moral, responsible life? Can our quest for happiness sit alongside the well-being of others and the health of society as a whole? These questions push us to think hard about the consequences of our choices and the ripples they send out into the world around us. When we take these questions seriously, we find ourselves in front of the idea of enlightened hedonism, a version of the philosophy that goes beyond indulgence and moves toward a more balanced, holistic approach to pleasure. This way of thinking suggests that true happiness doesn't come from chasing isolated bursts of enjoyment. Instead, it's found in living a life shaped by purpose, meaning, and connection with others. It insists that real joy lies in balancing our personal happiness with social responsibility, in finding pleasures that not only enrich us, but also enrich the people around us. Another layer of complexity emerges when we think about the difference between physical and mental pleasures. Physical pleasures are often immediate, visceral, and deeply satisfying in the moment. But they're also fleeting, and sometimes the more we seek them, the less rewarding they become over time. Mental pleasures, however, the joy of learning something new, the quiet satisfaction of personal growth, the peace that comes from a well-cultivated mind, tend to last longer and offer a deeper, more enduring fulfillment. This distinction is vital for understanding the real nature of pleasure. It challenges us to look past surface-level delights and to seek the more profound sources of happiness. It encourages us to nurture an inner life rich enough that the joys of the mind and spirit matter just as much as the pleasures of the body. Seen in this way, the philosophy transforms into a journey of discovery. It's no longer just a pursuit of immediate pleasure, but an exploration of what it truly means to live a fulfilled and happy life. It's about finding joy in the journey itself, in the act of exploring, experiencing, and growing. As we continue along this exploration, we're reminded that pleasure and happiness are never static. They change, they evolve with us. The things that bring us joy at one stage of life may lose their sparkle later. Our capacity for happiness matures, deepens, and with that, our entire understanding of what it means to pursue a happy life also changes. So this philosophy, far from being a simple formula for pleasure seeking, reveals itself as a complex, layered, and deeply thoughtful approach to living. It forces us to examine the very nature of happiness, to question the assumptions we hold, and to keep reaching for a richer, more meaningful understanding of what it means to live well. The exploration of pleasure as life's highest good opens up a vast and varied landscape of thought and experience. It urges us to question, to reflect, and to search for deeper insights into the nature of happiness. And in doing so, it teaches us to balance the fleeting joys of the moment with the deeper contentment of a life well lived. In this journey, we're invited not just to chase after pleasure, but to truly understand it, to appreciate it, and to recognize in it the keys to a life that is genuinely fulfilling. As we venture deeper into the landscape of pleasure-focused philosophy, we encounter a pivotal concept in understanding human happiness: the hedonic treadmill. This metaphorical treadmill describes a psychological phenomenon in which a person's level of happiness tends to remain constant over time, no matter how much their fortune or circumstances change. The term was first introduced in the 1970s by psychologists Brickman and Campbell, and since then it has become a cornerstone in the study of happiness and well-being. At its core, this concept challenges the assumption that greater wealth, higher status,
or major achievements will bring lasting increases in happiness. Instead, it shows us that people quickly adapt to changes, whether positive or negative, and eventually return to a familiar baseline of happiness. This process of adaptation reflects our human capacity for resilience and normalization, but it also suggests something sobering, that chasing bigger pleasures or greater achievements may not produce the long-term satisfaction we expect. The implications of the hedonic treadmill for a philosophy centered on pleasure are profound. If our levels of happiness always revert to a baseline, does that mean striving for more pleasure or better life circumstances is ultimately futile? This question cuts to the very heart of hedonistic thought and invites us to reconsider what true happiness and fulfillment really mean. Over the years, countless scientific studies have tested and explored this idea. They've shown us how and why happiness levels remain surprisingly stable across time. One striking insight is that people often overestimate the long-term effects of major life events. Lottery winners, for instance, return to roughly the same level of happiness they had before their windfall. Even accident victims, after an initial period of adjustment, often return to a baseline level of happiness. And this isn't limited to extreme situations. Everyday experiences also reveal how quickly we adapt to fluctuations in life. No matter how good or how bad things seem, the emotional impact often fades and we return to familiar ground. This concept also intersects with another human tendency, the constant evolution of our desires and expectations. As life improves, as goals are achieved and conditions get better, our expectations rise right alongside them. Each new achievement or acquisition quickly becomes the new normal. And so the cycle begins again. A fresh desire, another goal, another pursuit, as we try to keep our happiness at the same level. Understanding this cycle forces us to ask a sobering question. Could the hedonic treadmill trap us in a state of existential stagnation? If material gain and external achievements can only move us forward temporarily, then perhaps lasting happiness must be sought elsewhere. This realization can feel daunting, but it is also liberating. It nudges us to look beyond consumption and status and instead find happiness in more sustainable internal ways. That might mean investing in personal growth, nurturing meaningful relationships, or cultivating a life of deeper purpose. Of course, no single model captures the full complexity of human emotion. A critical look at the hedonic treadmill reveals its limitations. Some critics argue that the model oversimplifies human happiness. Joy is not one-dimensional. It is shaped by personality, circumstances, cultural background, and countless other factors.
The treadmill also doesn't fully explain cases where people experience genuine, lasting changes in happiness. Personal growth, spiritual breakthroughs, or profound life transformations can shift a person's baseline in ways that defy the model. Another key consideration is the role of individual differences. People don't all adapt to change in the same way or at the same pace. Traits like resilience, optimism, and strong social support networks can greatly influence how quickly someone returns to their baseline or whether their baseline shifts altogether. This variability suggests that while the hedonic treadmill is a powerful framework, it cannot encompass the full range of human experience. Yet even with its limitations, the concept pushes us to ask deeper questions about where true happiness comes from. If chasing external pleasures and achievements only leads us back to temporary highs followed by adaptation, then perhaps the focus should turn inward. Instead of endless striving, maybe we should look at cultivating internal sources of happiness. Gratitude for what we already have, strong and loving relationships, meaningful work, and the pursuit of personal growth and self-awareness. These internal anchors may provide the kind of fulfillment that external gains cannot.
In essence, the concept of the hedonic treadmill challenges us to rethink our entire approach to happiness and the pursuit of pleasure. It suggests that a deeper, more sustainable form of happiness may not come from constantly seeking more, but from learning to appreciate and find contentment in what we already have. This perspective doesn't dismiss the value of striving for improvement or experiencing joy, but it reminds us of the importance of balance, mindfulness, and a deeper awareness of what truly contributes to our well-being. The theory offers valuable insights into the limits of pleasure as the sole path to a fulfilling life. It encourages us to embrace a more nuanced understanding of happiness, one that recognizes the complexity of our emotions and the need to balance external achievements with inner stability. This understanding is crucial for anyone seeking the good life. A life worth living is not just about chasing fleeting pleasures, but about cultivating meaning, purpose, and genuine satisfaction. Yet one of the strongest critiques of a pleasure-focused philosophy comes from its moral and ethical dimensions. Critics argue that it risks promoting selfishness and indulgence, potentially leading to disregard for the welfare of others. Prioritizing personal pleasure above all else raises profound questions about morality and the responsibilities we hold toward those around us. The danger lies in slipping into hedonistic egoism, where the pursuit of one's own happiness could justify harmful or unethical behavior. This highlights the tension between personal happiness and social harmony. How do we reconcile the drive for pleasure with the moral obligation to act ethically and consider the impact of our actions on others?
The real challenge, then, is to find a balance between self-interest and altruism, between personal joy and the well-being of the community. There's also the question of sustainability. Can a life devoted to the continuous pursuit of pleasure truly remain fulfilling over time? Critics argue that overemphasizing pleasure risks creating a shallow existence, lacking deeper purpose and meaning. The constant chase for new and greater pleasures may instead lead to dissatisfaction, as each new high quickly fades into the background, leaving us trapped in a never-ending cycle of desire. This pushes us to reflect on the long-term implications of our choices. What kind of happiness are we really pursuing? And more importantly, what kind of life is truly worth living? Counterarguments from other philosophies paint a strikingly different picture. Take Stoicism, for example. This ancient philosophy emphasizes virtue and reason, insisting that true happiness comes not from pleasure, but from living in harmony with nature and cultivating inner strengths like wisdom, courage, and self-control. To the Stoic, external circumstances, whether pleasurable or painful, are irrelevant to true fulfillment. What matters most is the character we build. On the other hand, existentialism presents yet another contrasting view. It highlights freedom, choice, and responsibility, suggesting that life's meaning doesn't come from external pleasures or predetermined goals. Instead, fulfillment arises from authentic choices and the courage to engage with the raw reality of existence. Existentialists challenge the very idea that happiness should be our ultimate aim. For them, life gains value when we live authentically, confronting its absurdities and embracing its struggles head-on. Buddhist philosophy also offers a unique perspective, one centered on the alleviation of suffering through the cessation of desire. According to Buddhism, our attachments, our craving for pleasure, and our aversion to pain are the root causes of suffering. The path to true happiness, then, lies in letting go of these attachments and instead cultivating compassion, mindfulness, and inner peace. These diverse philosophies, Stoicism, existentialism, Buddhism, and others, each provide valuable insights into the complexities of happiness and the pursuit of a good life. They challenge us to question our assumptions about pleasure, to look beyond the surface, and to consider alternative routes to fulfillment and well-being. Together, they invite us to explore the deeper dimensions of existence, to shift our focus from the fleeting gratification of pleasure toward building a life rich in meaning, purpose, and ethical integrity. The critiques and challenges of a pleasure-focused philosophy shine a light on its ethical, moral, and practical limitations. They remind us that happiness is not a solitary pursuit. It carries broader implications for our communities, our relationships, and the world we help create.
In grappling with these questions, we open the door to alternative ways of living and thinking. And in that exploration, we begin to form a more nuanced understanding of what it truly means to live a good and meaningful life. In today's world, the echoes of pleasure-seeking philosophies are everywhere. They shape how we live, how we consume, and even how we see ourselves. To really understand this philosophy in our modern context, we need to look at both its prominence in culture and the ways it can be balanced with responsibility and ethical living. One of the clearest examples of pleasure-seeking can be seen in consumer culture. The endless chase for the newest gadget, the trendiest fashion, or the most luxurious product isn't just about function. It's about the thrill, the status, and the sense of joy these possessions promise. The advertising industry knows this well, constantly tapping into our deepest desires for happiness, success, and belonging, fueling the cycle of craving and consumption. Social media adds another layer. It has become a stage where curated lifestyles are put on display, lives filled with aesthetic beauty, leisure, and seemingly endless enjoyment. These images influence our aspirations, often pushing us to chase experiences that mirror those idealized snapshots. Alongside this, the rise of experience-driven industries, travel, entertainment, food culture reflects a shift from valuing material goods to valuing experiences. Unique trips, fine dining, or extravagant adventures have become symbols of living life to the fullest. But this modern culture of seeking pleasure also forces us to pause and ask, how can we pursue joy in a way that is both responsible and sustainable? This is where the idea of mindful consumption comes in. It's about shifting our focus from quantity to quality, finding joy in fewer but more meaningful possessions and experiences. It also means being aware of the social and psychological effects of our choices. Are we chasing authenticity or simply copying an image we've seen online? Are our pleasures fleeting, or do they add real value to our lives? Another way to balance pleasure with responsibility is by giving back. Acts of kindness, volunteering, and philanthropy can provide a profound kind of joy, one not rooted in just what we gain, but in what we give. This creates a fuller, more holistic picture of happiness, one that blends personal joy with collective well-being. We also need to reevaluate our relationship with work. In a culture that glorifies busyness and nonstop productivity, reclaiming time for leisure, rest, and self-care becomes an act of balance. It challenges the idea that constant output is the only path to fulfillment and reminds us that true satisfaction also comes from stillness, play, and presence. And so, as we reach the end of this exploration into the philosophy of hedonism, it's worth pausing to reflect on the journey we've taken. We began with the core principle, the elevation of pleasure as the highest good. We discovered that pleasure isn't simple. It varies from person to person, spanning everything from physical sensations to the joys of the mind. We then explored the balance between short-term and long-term happiness, uncovering how immediate joy must be weighed against enduring contentment. The concept of the hedonic treadmill showed us that despite major life changes, we often return to a baseline of happiness, forcing us to rethink the true sources of fulfillment. We also confronted the moral and ethical dimensions of a pleasure-centered life. How do we balance personal joy with responsibility towards others and the environment? Can a life devoted solely to pleasure ever be sustainable, or does it risk becoming shallow and unfulfilling? Looking at the modern landscape, we saw how these ideas manifest in consumerism, social media, and the experience economy. And we recognize the growing need for balance, mindful consumption, authentic living, and harmony between work, leisure, and rest.
Reflecting personally, it becomes clear that while the pursuit of pleasure is a natural and important part of human life, it is not the whole story. True happiness emerges when pleasure is woven together with ethical living, personal growth, and social responsibility. It is not found in endlessly chasing more, but in aligning our desires with our values and our connections to others. So I invite you to reflect on your own relationship with pleasure. How does the pursuit of happiness shape your choices? Are there areas where balance could be restored? Do your pleasures align with your deeper values and the impact you want to have on the world? Let us seek pleasure not as the ultimate goal, but as one part of a richer tapestry of experiences that make life meaningful. Let us aim for a happiness that is sustainable, grounded in purpose, and deeply fulfilling. In the end, the good life is not just about grasping for joy in fleeting moments, but about crafting a life that, in its entirety, feels joyful to live. May this exploration inspire you to find your own path, one that harmonizes pleasure with purpose, fulfillment with responsibility, and personal joy with the greater good.